Elizabeth Alfano, founder of Plant-Powered Consulting and host of the Plant-Based Business Hour. As part of The Vegan Museum Presents, here's a quick interview with Advisory Council member and founder of Tofurky, Seth Tibbott.
I went vegan in 1974 after going vegetarian in 1971 when I read Diet for a Small Planet by Francis Moore Lappé, which was a groundbreaking book that told about why animals are an inefficient way to use grains. You put 16 pounds of grains into a cow and you get 1 little pound of protein. And I was an environmentalist and naturalist at the time. Didn't make any sense to me. And I figured if we had a more efficient way of producing protein, the habitats for the wild animals that I loved so much would not be under such pressure. So I went to a commune called The Farm in 1975 to visit, and they were living a pure vegetarian lifestyle. They weren't even using the term vegan at that point. There was 1,200 hippies living on 1,600 acres of lands, and they were all pure vegetarian, aka vegans. And that's where I first got exposed to the vegan diet and became a vegan. But I didn't become total vegan to the point where I would never go back until many years later in 2012 when I went to the Farm Sanctuary and spoke at their Thanksgiving event, and I got to spend time close up with the pigs and the cows and the turkeys, and I went, whoa, I need to never ever eat one of these beautiful sentient beings again. So that's why I went vegan. I'll grant you this, in 1980 when I first went into business and in 1970 when I first became a vegetarian, it was kind of hard, I mean, there was not a lot of products on the supermarket shelves. In fact, in 1980, the whole category of plant-based foods was absolute zero. But now it's just a matter of putting your hand on a carton of milk that's right next to cow milk. There'd be plant milk. And I've traveled all around the world and I'm never have starved. And it's just amazing how this category has grown and evolved over the last 30 and 40 years to the point where it's a snap, really. Yeah, in 1980, I never envisioned the growth that we have seen over the last 40 years, that's for sure. And in fact, in 1980, there was a lot of naysayers that came to me and said, this is a really stupid idea. I was starting to make tempeh. That was the first product for 15 years before Tofurky came in 1995. But I went out to my Aunt Rosie's house for Christmas and she sat me down and set me straight after I told her about my creative mold business and making tempeh and moldy soybeans. And she said, Seth, that is a terrible idea. This is a meat-eating country. It's always going to be a meat-eating country. And nobody wants to eat soybeans, especially not moldy ones. So that was pretty typical of a lot of people's attitude in 1980. But seeing the growth now today is just astounding. It's breathtaking, really, to me. And for the future, as far as that goes, I think, it's hard to pinpoint what day or year it's going to happen, but I'm telling you this, within 100 years, the majority of the food that's eaten in the protein sector will be plant-based. Absolutely sure of that. Can't be otherwise. We'll never make it as a species without reducing our intake of animal proteins by 50 to 90%. A lot of people think that the movement for plant-based foods was started by a bunch of hippies in the 70s and co-ops and stuff. And that was actually a renaissance and key tipping point moment. But the nice thing about this museum is it points out that this is a movement that has been happening in America since the Native American times, pre-colonial times, through colonial times, and then on into the 1800s with the Bible Christians and the first people that came over from England that were vegetarian people and started the movement here. So it's a fascinating story, and I hope you will all enjoy the Vegan Museum.